Hey guys, Lally here. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about exactly how you can execute on a consistent basis and be more productive in your business and get more done and have more impact. And the reason why I want to make this video is because I made a previous video a few weeks ago about how to be a high performer in your business, and I got actually quite a lot of messages to my LinkedIn inbox saying, can you talk more about executing and actually doing the work and managing to get more done and be more productive on the day-to-day. And I was like, you know what, I'll make a video on it. And these are some techniques which I've used, previously in 2015, where I was working a 60-70 hour a week full-time job, and also I had my side hustle as well, and I was making a lot of impact in that, and really moving things forward. And as you know, business is quite hard. If you're watching this video, you will know business is quite hard, and some of these foundations and tactics I'm going to give you in this video have helped me throughout my time, and now I've built a pretty successful business on LinkedIn. So let's get straight to it. So we're going to break this session down into two parts: distractions versus focus. Now, the thing is about execution, right, is you can only execute when you are focused, right? And to focus, you have to not have any distractions. And if you are distracted, you probably aren't focusing, right? So these are like the two polar opposite ends of the scales there. So we're going to talk about how to get into this kind of this flow state of being able to execute on a consistent basis. So first of all, I want to actually start with distractions first. And I want to start with your environment. Now, what do I mean by environment, right? In 2021, we are constantly being pulled in a million directions, right? Our focus has never been so split. Our phones are going off all the time. We've got tons of notifications pouring in. We've got tons of social media apps. And our environment just gets cluttered as like a byproduct of this, because we just have like messy brains. So first of all, if you're wanting to focus and execute on a consistent basis, I would be auditing your environment and having a look around and seeing, like, the environment I keep as a workspace, are there things in it which I need to get rid of that are actually just distracting me all the time? So this is my office at the moment. I have a standing desk. I have a chair. I can't move the camera because it's actually on a tripod. And I don't want to screw up and try and get the angle, but I've got a chair, a standing desk, a laptop, and a second screen, and a wireless keyboard and mouse, right? And I have some books up here and a whiteboard, right? That's literally it, okay? I don't have anything else in the office because I just get so distracted, right? My desk is nice and clean, and when I sit down to do work, there is nothing that is going to pull me away from this. So we want to audit our environment and actually take like an inventory of what distracts us during the day. And I would do this by actually tracking your own time. Open like an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, get a little screen time app, which records your screen time on it. See where you are spending most of your time, on what sort of websites you are spending your time on. And then once you've got this list of things and you know what's distracting you, I would actually go through these items and group them. Is it entertainment? Is it maybe that you are just scrolling through YouTube and just watching loads of YouTube videos? And then what I would do is I would just delete the apps. Identify the distractions in your environment and delete the apps, right? Because once we get rid of that, then we're on a pretty smooth run. But what we tend to find is once we start getting rid of the distractions, more distractions will actually take their place. So this is where we come around to actually optimizing your environment. Now, how do you do this? Well, you make sure that like your office has only a single laptop in, right? You make sure that your laptop doesn't have any unnecessary apps on. You can also download an app on your laptop as well to block certain websites at certain times of day where you need to be focusing. A great app that I actually use is an app called Freedom, which actually just blocks apps for a certain amount of time, blocks websites for a certain amount of time on your laptop, right? So that's auditing your environment. We're making sure our environment's a great place. If you've got an Xbox or a PlayStation in your living room and you find that you are just constantly being pulled towards that, maybe start unplugging your cable and getting your partner to take it with them to work, or just getting rid of the cable for like a set period of time, like 3 weeks or something, so you can actually work and you're not getting distracted by these. The problem is your downtime, particularly if you work from home, often seeps into your time that you should be working, and it takes away from this, right? So that's step number one, audit your environment, take out the distractions of your environment. If you have like social media as well, social media is a massive black hole of basically companies working together, hiring the smartest teams to figure out exactly how the human brain works, and then to figure out exactly how you get addicted to it. So I'm very, very protective of like what I see and the information I consume in my brain. So I actually have like news feed blocker apps, which I've installed on my laptop, which blocks like LinkedIn's news feed. It's blocked like Facebook's news feed. It's blocked like YouTube's newsfeed and like the recommended videos and that. And the reason why I have these apps is because I need to be a producer on these platforms and not a consumer, right? Because sometimes it's great to consume things to get idea, but when you look at like the risk and the benefits of producing versus consuming, when you consume, you get sucked down this rabbit hole. Suddenly it's 3 hours later, you haven't done anything, you've started watching videos about squirrels, right? And you've just lost loads of time. And the thing is with that, like it's great to do those things when you've planned to do those things. But if you're supposed to be working and you're just getting all these dopamine hits from social media, it's actually ruining your brain, and it's you're losing your ability to actually focus. There's a great book on this. It's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And Cal talks about like how doing deep work and staying focused is actually a muscle and a skill which needs training. And the problem is if you start bowing towards all these distractions and getting pulled everywhere, then you're actually training like the reverse of that, and it's very hard to retrain it. So think about like a muscle. If the muscle starts getting weak, you can't lift that weight anymore and you just can't go as long. So that is another thing. Get rid of like your social media. You don't have to go excessive and like actually delete it or anything. You could just use newsfeed blocking apps, social media news feed blockers. Another one is getting your partners and family on board with when you're actually doing deep work. So we're just going to put family for this one. This could be friends as well. And if they're coming in your room all the time and disturbing you and pulling you away from things, or saying, watch this, watch this. My girlfriend used to come running in here when I'm trying to work, right? And be like, oh, look at this, look at this. Look, I've just seen this puppy on WhatsApp. And the problem is it's hard to get back into the zone. So you want to try and stay in the zone as long as possible and come out of it as little as possible, right? So make sure you communicate firmly with your family, your friends. And the amount of people who don't actually do this it blows my mind. You just need to say, listen, I've got some goals to chase here. Listen, I need to get some work done. I will be free at etc. time, but even make excuses, say you've got to do calls or something like that. Just make sure your family don't come in and disturb you and drag you away, because it's really hard to get back in the zone. And the next one is keeping everything nice, and make sure you're having like a non-messy desk and making sure everything's clean. You got a messy desk, it's got dust all over it, clean it. You've got clutter all over your office, get rid of it, because this stuff actually takes up space in your brain, okay? So make sure things are clean. It takes up space in your brain, and what happens is, again, it just acts as distraction. In 2021, our brains are trained to be a distraction machine. They actually did like this study where they measured our attention span in 2021, and it was something embarrassing, like on average it's 4 seconds before we actually get distracted by something else. So you have to understand, like, the environment is literally optimized to distract us at the moment, and you have to really, really consciously battle against this to actually get things done. Another big one is drinking alcohol, right? It's fine to go out and have a few drinks with your friends, have a few drinks with your partner, or have a few drinks with your family and things like this, as long as it's organized time. But the problem is with alcohol, and this is why I quite rarely drink, is you will end up drinking on like say like a Friday or a Saturday. And what happens is you'll get the hangover on the Sunday, then you'll get like a second hangover on the Monday, and you will then have brain fog throughout the week, and you won't be able to get anything of quality work done. Your brain just isn't optimized for that. I know, because I actually had we had like a celebration. It was somebody's birthday last Saturday, and I went out, I had a few drinks. I don't really drink. And today is Friday, right? And I've only really recovered like one day ago before my brain actually felt normal again, which meant that like the whole Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the working week, I was struggling to just get things going. I had like lack of motivation. I didn't even drink that much, right? I'm not a big drinker. So the moment you cut alcohol out is the moment that you'll actually start accomplishing bigger things and being able to think on a cleaner level. Same goes for like diet as well, but we're not covering that in this video. Hey guys, so when I went back to edit this part of the video, I actually realized that the next minute or so, the audio completely glitched out and you couldn't really hear what I was saying. So I've just jumped in here to give you a bit of an overview of what I was actually covering in the next minute of this video. What I'm actually saying is that your phone is the most distracting thing that you can ever have. And basically phones, smartphones in particular, are actually designed to just capture all of your attention. Companies literally hire scientists to figure out how to consume your attention with the apps that are on your phone. So basically, even if you put your phone in a drawer next to you when you are working, you'll constantly have like a pull to just pull your phone out and check your phone, and this breaks up your focus. So my advice for you, if you have a smartphone, is when you are sitting down to do work, just put your phone in a completely different room, then you won't feel distracted. Put it on silent, put it on flight mode as well, because then you aren't going to hear from the other room a notification going off from like a message from someone or anything like that. Sometimes I even just put my phone in a different room and just keep it completely off in a different room. People know they can't contact me between like the hours of 8 and 11, and in that time frame there I actually get so much more work done. Next, what I actually move on to is talking about how I have an Oura ring, that's O-U-R-A ring, which helps me track my sleep. And this is where we're up to on the video. I have an Oura ring, right? And if I have a single half a beer, this is fascinating by the way, if I have half a beer or, you know, a glass of wine, even in like the afternoon, right? And that's it, that's all I have all day. And I've measured this, right? It drives my heartbeat up by 10 beats per minute when I'm sleeping at night. And you have like a readiness score, which is a score for like how well recovered you are. My readiness score and my sleep score come way down. All because my heart rate is increased. When you sleep and when you recover at night, your heart rate needs to decrease. So basically, even if you just drink a drop of alcohol, it seriously stops your body from recovering, which means you didn't get a proper night's sleep, which means then you sleep screwed the next night because you've got like a sleep debt, which means then like you're probably not thinking well as long as with the hangover as well. Really, if you're very serious about this, you just cut it out and keep it for like very rare occasions where you know you can recover the next week. And it sounds quite boring that, but you know, I used to work in a bar for a long time, and I used to get quite used to going out and being super social without actually drinking or anything, because I'd finish at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. And if I'd go to like a bar or club afterwards, I'm not like in the mood to drink. I've just worked a, you know, a 12, 14-hour shift. I just want to go and socialize a little bit, right? And after a while, you learn that you're still just a social anyway, and you don't actually need this as like a crutch. So I recommend you get completely rid of that. It'll help with recovery. And then your phone away, just get rid of your phone. It is the devil. If you can downgrade your smartphone to an actual phone, which doesn't have like apps and things like that, do that as well. You know, all you need is like emergency contacts on it. There's nothing you can't do with your phone without, apart from like maybe like GPS or something, but it will really help you. Now, the next ones, we're going to focus on something called decision fatigue. Now, what is decision fatigue? If you go to the gym and work out your muscles after, you know, a few hours, or even after just a few sets, your muscles are quite tired until you have rest, and then you maybe visit the next day. The same thing happens basically with your brain as well. And your brain essentially gets quite tired quite fast. Depending on what time you get up, you will have like 6 or so hours where you basically have great focus and your ability to make decisions is really, really high. So let's just do a chart here. Let's just say you've got up at 6 a.m. You'll probably be groggy for the first half an hour. This is your ability to make decisions here, right? So let's say it's probably about there. So until about like 12 p.m. or maybe 1 p.m, you've got the greatest amount of power that your brain is able to produce in like the first 6 hours of your day, right? And you will get infinitely, bigger and harder tasks done in these first 6 hours. And then what happens towards the end of the day, even at just like 5 p.m, your brain doesn't work, it's struggling to figure out exactly how to, work things out. You'll get like maybe like a simple email or a simple message you need to respond to, and you'll be like, how do I properly word this? How do I get around this? And that's just because your brain's getting tired. Now you can increase this line a little bit and have it, come down a bit later and get tired a bit later if you focus on like diet, if you focus on sleep and focus on exercise as well, and make sure you have the health quadrants recovered and you're keeping those in good check, right? You can keep it a little bit, but generally still you will be having to adjust what you're doing at these times here, because like your brain just can't concentrate with these heavy tasks. So essentially lift the big rocks first, right? So lift them first, lift them in this period here. You've got a tough thing to do, and you know that like it's a tough project to do, it requires like a lot of brain power to do. Then schedule them for the start of the day, right? Schedule them for like you're fresh, and what you'll find afterwards is that you'll be really, really knackered and tired if it has been a particularly complex task because you've used your full brain power on it. Another part of this is routine as well. Routine. We are creatures of habits, and humans just in general need patterns and habits to perform at the best level. Now, the thing is, if you get a routine, you start getting habits as well. So what we want to do is we want to set aside a certain period of time per day where we want to be working, and we want to have maybe like a time that we're handling calls, chunk the time, a time that we're handling maybe emails, a time that we're making content, a time that we're trying to be social and message other people and network with other people. We want to set specific time of days for these to happen. And the reason why is because we want to make things as frictionless as possible for ourselves. How much friction stands between you getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth, right? And not a lot, because you do it every day, right? Or at least I hope you do it every day if you're watching this video. If not, you should probably get on top of that. But essentially the same thing works with work as well. If you have a routine where it's like, okay, now I've sat down at my desk, now I work, and this is just what happens on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. So my routine involves getting up between 6 or 7. I generally try to keep it the same time per day. At the moment though, it's between 6 or 7. It's usually about 6:30. So I'll get up at like 6:30. So let's just say 6:30. I'll then hit the gym. That's at like 7. Then at like 8 o'clock, I'll be, getting showered, having a healthy breakfast. And then at like 8:30, 9, I'll be sitting down at my laptop and I'll be focusing straight away on content. And then, depending on how long that takes me, usually till about 9:30, I will then move over to responding to messages. Okay, so remember, this is still all in the bit of the day where I've got like the most brain power, right? And then I'll be responding to clients, I'll be solving their complex problems. And then after that, I'll continue to work till like 12:30. I'll eat lunch then, maybe go for a walk. I'll then, depending on how my day will go and depending on like how killed off I get by my lunch, I will then work till probably about 5, might do a few client calls or sales calls from like 6:30 till 8. Right? But generally there's a bit of a break in the afternoon. And the reason why I've put a little break in the afternoon there is because I track myself and I know that I actually really struggle working in the afternoon. So I've tried to force myself through it. I've tried to like come up with all different sorts of strategies to get myself through it. It's just not how I work. I get this lull, so I might as well be reading a book, you know, talking to friends or doing something else, doing an activity in that time, because I've just not got the brain power to do it. So then I'll generally pick some stuff up, and I get a second wind probably about 4 o'clock, and then I'll be speaking to maybe some clients at night that are US based, maybe some sales calls as well at that time. And I just do this every single day, Monday to Saturday. And the reason why I do work quite a lot is because I absolutely love what I do. I have a passion for it. And when you've got a passion for something, you can go way longer than if you don't have a passion for something. So if you're in a business right now and you're really not enjoying it, question why you're not enjoying it. Is it maybe you just need a week break or something like that, or a week away from it? Maybe you're a bit burnt out, or maybe you actually don't like what you do. So I coach and help people with like a strategy on LinkedIn and help them get more leads. And I absolutely love speaking to people and doing what I do. So I can easily handle these calls at quite late at night. It's like no biggie for me, right? Whereas if I hated what I'd do, I'd probably want to stop working at like 9 a.m. in the morning. So you need to really think about like, what am I doing? Do I really love it? If you're doing like copywriting, if you're doing like digital marketing, do you love running the agency? Is there any way that you can take the parts that you don't like and outsource them? Is there any way you can automate them or just like completely eliminate them out of your life? And I mentioned this on a previous video. There's a great book here by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I got it right this time. If you've seen the other video, I couldn't say his name. His name's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and this book's called Flow, and it talks about like how loving the tasks that you do is the key to actually achieving and being in that state of flow. So if you love what you do, you can easily get into a state of flow, and some of this becomes really, really seamless. Instead though, if you don't love what you do, look how you can slightly up the challenge. And this book actually talks about it. I definitely recommend it. It's a great read. So for instance, if you're just a person who's working in a factory all day and you're, boxing up boxes repeatedly, it's probably quite unfulfilling work. See if you can challenge yourself and, pack the boxes up and shave like a second off your time and measure yourself. And that's how you add a bit of challenge into it. And when things are challenging, us humans, we love a challenge and we end up like enjoying something more that's slightly challenging. It's when it's not challenging and it can like be done with your eyes closed is where you start hating these things, right? So that's the passion right there. Having that passion for what you do, make sure that you love what you do. If you don't, but it's necessary anyway and you can't change it, then see if you can actually challenge yourself to perform at a bit better level, and you'll find that your interest actually picks up as well. It's actual psychology. You should read that book because I really recommend it. Another point is focus on imperfect action. All right, so at heart, I am a perfectionist. And I can take some content and I can spend all day looking at it and all day getting things right. So what I actually have to do to get around that, because I just never get anything done if that was just what I was like, is I actually have to train myself to not be perfect, right? I have to actually submit imperfect work deliberately so that I get around it. Quantity of work is better than quality of work that doesn't get done, right? So if you've got like 2 pieces of work and one that you worked on really quickly and it's got a few mistakes on it, submit that piece of work rather than taking a few days, which might not yield you any more result. And this is also the 80-20 principle here. This is called Pareto's law. So we're going to write down the laws here, covering Pareto's law first. And Pareto's law is basically like it takes 20% of effort to get 80% of the result, but to get that extra like 20%, to take from 80 to 100, right? It would take a further 80% of effort, right? So there's that. So basically there's diminishing returns on whatever activities that you take in or whatever, task you're doing. There's diminishing returns. This is why you should always focus on imperfect action. Because if you look at me, I make a video, I'll make quite a long video like this, and then I'll just, upload it. I'll scribble out a few things on it, like a few areas I made of errors. I'll just get rid of them. And then you look at that video versus a video of like a proper YouTuber who has 1 million subscribers, and they take literally a day to get the color scheme right on the editing software and the lighting just perfect, right? And they take all this extra time and they pretty much just say goodbye to their whole week because they are focusing this level of detail. Maybe at that level, because that's their main thing, they do want to focus that level of detail. But my point is, if they didn't do all those things, if the content's still good, right, then they could just save themselves a whole bunch of time by going for the 80-20 principle and submitting things imperfectly. Train yourself to submit things imperfectly. Now, caveat here is you don't want to just put things into ruin and just basically produce really, really crap work, because obviously your business will fail that way as well. It's having that balance and looking at something and being like, do I really need to do this again? Do I need to focus any more time on it? Is it kind of done? Have I actually checked through this, and is it good enough? If it's good enough, submit it, get it done, move on to the next thing. There's tons of things in business which you need to accomplish, and you don't have the time to just spend focusing and fixating on this little tiny problem. Another action is, if you are driving the ship on your business, you want a to-do list, right? You want to wake up in the morning with a to-do list that's straight in front of you, open on your desk like that, a little notepad, because that optimizes your environment. And then you can just focus like a machine and just literally execute on those goals and execute on those things you need to do. And the reason why is because we don't want to be using this valuable time at the start of the day when our decision fatigue is rapidly getting worse and our mental power is rapidly running out, focusing on what we should be doing and trying to come up with a plan today, because that could take 30 minutes. We should be planning when we get to the end of the day here, because then when we sleep, REM sleep, there's a great podcast by Joe Rogan and Matthew Walker, go and watch it. Matthew Walker is a neuroscientist for sleep, and he wrote a book on why we sleep. And he says that when we sleep and we have REM sleep, which is the sleep where it's called rapid eye movement, and it's the sleep where we actually dream. This sleep here, we actually learn new things as well and work things out while we're dreaming as well, even though that the dreams might be completely unrelated. So we want to have our to-do list down, because even if we get difficult actions down on the to-do list, we often will dream like a solution and wake up the next morning and quickly figure out what we need to do. So we always want to be taking advantage of this downtime here and actually using it a little bit productively, right? Because you're going to sleep anyway, you might as well. So getting that to-do list down and just executing off that to-do list, pretty much like an employer would tell an employee, you need to do this, 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 and this. Be your employer at the end of the day and submit that list to yourself, the to-do list to do for the following morning. So you come in and you sit down and you're like, I need to do this, right? Boom, done. And then hopefully, it'll be a lot easier to do. And essentially, when you are focusing, you want to make things seamless, we're running out of whiteboard space here, seamless as possible. Okay, often the reason why we stop taking action or stop executing is because we hit a stage with either we don't know where we're steering our ship, which is why we have the to-do list, or we've reached an obstacle which is quite difficult and quite taxing. Suddenly it's a bit too challenging and we throw on the brakes, we get distracted, we start procrastinating. And the reason we start procrastinating is just the obstacle's too tough to conquer, or at least it would require a lot of brain power. You've got to understand, like, your brain's a complex beast. It's an amazing beast, but at the same time, it does not give a damn about your goals, right? It will happily go and get its little dopamine trip from scrolling through a newsfeed or looking at 20 videos in a row, because that's just how it works. It needs dopamine to survive and to thrive. At least it thinks it does anyway. And it needs to feel good all the time, but it doesn't really care about your goals. So you have to kind of get it under control. So this whole process that I've laid out for you here is making the work as seamless as possible when you are trying to execute. And where there's friction, your brain will make any excuse not to do it and not to do the work. So just look at your environment, look at the tasks, and look at all these things I've laid out for you, and just think, is there any friction around it? Is there something that's going to stop me moving forward? Is everything organized? Because if it isn't, then that's where you're going to run into problems. So another fundamental law I want to talk about is Parkinson's law. And essentially what Parkinson's law means is basically the task that you do will expand in the amount of work that's needed for the time that you're given. So what does that mean? Well, if you're in school and you've got a homework assignment that's due in 2 weeks, you'll probably take 2 weeks to do that homework assignment. However, if you have that same homework assignment and it's due in 4 hours, you will still probably take those 4 hours to do it, right? Because all that happens is the less time we have, the more we focus on execution. And this is huge. This one probably gets me the most because I have a tendency to like dwell on things. I needed to get this piece of copywriting done in my business the other day, and it needed to be really good. And I was working on it from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. And I was working out like the best way, perfection. I was working out the best way to do this. I was thinking of all the angles, thinking how it might be received. I deleted loads and then put it back in, then deleted loads again and edited it all. And by the time it got to 3 o'clock, I'd literally written like 2 lines because I'd edited it so much and deleted it all. And this is still me knowing all these things here. And then basically something came up and I needed to leave the house in 45 minutes. I didn't see this thing coming. And I was like, I need to get this finished today. So I managed to box this whole bit of copywriting off in 45 minutes. And it was like really good as well. From my perspective, it was really good. At least it converted quite well. And I was like, I've just wasted 7 hours on this copywriting task when I could have actually done this in 45 minutes if I'd have set myself an actual deadline. It needs to be an actual deadline, not a deadline that you set for yourself because you will break your own rules all the time of you know, I'm leaving the house in this amount of time and I need to get this done. So that is Parkinson's law there. So when you create your to-do list, you probably want to put some big tasks. If you think about it strategically, you probably want to put some very important big tasks that have a deadline on them and then make the deadline quite real so that you actually just focus on execution. And that's the way around actually all these things here, which stops your brain from just basically getting off track and overthinking things and focusing on perfectionism. So the final law is something called Newton's law. These are all productivity laws right here, Newton's law. And what does Newton's law mean? Well, basically what it means is an object will not change its motion unless a force acts upon it. So basically, if you're sat down on your couch and you need to go and do some work, it's really, really hard to actually go and do some work, right? If you've had a break from the gym and exercising, it's really, really hard to get yourself back into it. If you know you need to go and meditate or go to bed at a certain time, it's really, really hard to actually do this. Because you are at a standstill, you aren't moving forward, right? However, if you've been to the gym for a few weeks, you will find that it's actually quite easier to keep up that routine, right? Because you've started to build a routine and because you're already moving forward, you've already got some force behind you. So the same thing happens with work. If you're, managing to stick to a routine every day and you have that like force behind you, you're actually moving quite fast, it's relatively easy to do it, but actually starting it is the toughest part when the object is at a standstill. So how you get around this, you want to actually go and do a little task which is associated with your business. So for instance, I needed to film this video and I really didn't want to do it because, I've already done a few videos today and I'm quite tired at the moment, but I needed to actually set up the tripod and then put my phone on it. And then plug in like the recording equipment, because then I've already took some action towards moving the ball a little bit, right? And now I might as well film the video, right? I might as well do it because the ball's already moving, right? These are some of the things which actually, I've learned over time, where I've learned to actually move forward at quite a rapid rate and make a lot of impact when others are not managing to get anywhere near as much work done as I do in a day, right? And if you're juggling maybe like a job or like a family or responsibilities or something like this, you want to actually take some of these things I've said here about minimizing the distractions while upping the focus, making things as seamless as possible and reducing friction. You want to take some of these things and actually implement them into your business, and you will find that you actually go quite far. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the video. If you want to see how to get leads on LinkedIn, I'll also leave a little training link as the first comment underneath this video. Let me know if there's anything else you want to say, and I'll do my best to make a video on it, because your feedback shapes my content. So have a fantastic day, guys.